Dogs are amazing creatures that have become an integral part of millions of people's lives around the world. These loyal four-legged friends give us their unconditional love and devotion, becoming not just pets, but true family members. According to statistics, more than 60% of dog owners consider their pets full-fledged family members and treat them accordingly. But have you ever thought that some of our ordinary, everyday actions might cause them real stress or even fear? What seems completely natural and routine to us can be a source of intense anxiety and distress for dogs. Scientists studying animal behavior assert that dogs can experience a wide range of emotions, including fear, anxiety, joy, and even complex feelings similar to jealousy or resentment. Moreover, the emotional intelligence of some breeds is comparable to that of a 3-year-old child. Today, we will examine 7 common human actions that might frighten our beloved pets and discuss how we can minimize their stress, making our life together more harmonious and happy for both parties. Understanding canine psychology is the key to harmonious coexistence with our pets. Dogs perceive the world quite differently than humans. They have much more sensitive hearing, capable of detecting sounds up to 50,000 hertz, while the human ear is limited to 20,000 hertz. Their sense of smell plays a crucial role in understanding the environment. A dog's nose contains up to 300 million olfactory receptors compared to 6 million in humans, and many visual signals are interpreted completely differently by them than by us. For example, dogs only distinguish the blue-yellow color spectrum, but they see much better in twilight and notice movement more quickly. Therefore, it's not surprising that some of our everyday actions can cause them confusion and fear. So, the first action that often scares dogs is hugging and leaning over them. Many people express their love for pets through hugs and kisses. We hug each other to show affection and naturally transfer this behavior to our four-legged friends. However, in the dog world, hugs are perceived quite differently. When we hug a dog, leaning over it, the animal may perceive this as domination or even a threat. Studies of dog behavior show that in the wild, one animal hovering over another is a demonstration of strength and dominance. Additionally, limb encirclement in the dog world usually occurs in the context of fighting or attacking. American veterinary behaviorist Dr. Sophie Yin conducted an interesting study analyzing photographs of dogs with children hugging them. In more than 80% of the photos, the animals showed clear signs of stress and discomfort, although owners believed their pets were enjoying the attention. Imagine a giant creature hovering over you and embracing you tightly, restricting your freedom of movement. Sounds pretty scary, doesn't it? This is exactly how many dogs perceive human hugs. Instead of the joy we expect, the pet may experience anxiety, discomfort, and a desire to break free. Hugs cause especially strong stress in dogs that weren't socialized from an early age or had negative experiences in the past. How can you tell if your dog doesn't like your hugs? Pay attention to body language, averted gaze, tense posture with rigidity, pinned ears, wrinkles around the eyes and mouth, frequent yawning or licking. All these are signs of discomfort. Interesting fact, licking the nose and lips in the dog world is a calming signal, an attempt to show that the animal doesn't want conflict. If your dog does this often in your presence, it's probably experiencing anxiety. Some dogs may tolerate hugs from owners they're used to, but almost always would prefer other forms of affection. What should you do? Instead of hugging, try scratching your pet behind the ears, where there are pleasant points for stimulation, or petting its chest. This gesture isn't perceived as threatening. You can simply sit next to your dog, allowing it to decide how close it wants to be. Many canine experts recommend that instead of direct hugs, you should crouch next to the dog and scratch its sides. Most pets perceive this as a display of friendship. Respect your friend's personal space, and it will appreciate this, responding with sincere attachment. The second action is loud music and household appliances. Dogs' hearing is much sharper than humans. They can detect sounds at distances up to 4 times greater than we can and hear frequencies inaccessible to the human ear. The ultrasonic range, which we don't even perceive, can be a source of extreme discomfort for a dog. Therefore, loud music, a working vacuum cleaner, blender, or hair dryer can be not just unpleasant for a dog, but truly painful. Interesting fact, dogs hear sounds in the range from 16 to 65,000 hertz, while the human ear perceives sounds from 20 to 20,000 hertz. This means dogs can hear many sounds that simply don't exist for us. For example, they can hear a mouse squeak from 25 meters away or the rustle of an insect in the grass. Many electronic devices such as televisions, computers, and even chargers emit high-frequency sounds that are imperceptible to us, but potentially irritating to dogs. Remember how you feel when a loud alarm suddenly goes off next to you, or someone starts drilling into a wall. Now imagine these sounds are 4 times louder and accompanied by additional high-frequency tones. That's approximately what your dog experiences when many household appliances are operating. No wonder some pets literally go crazy from the sound of a vacuum cleaner or mixer. Certain dog breeds are especially sensitive to sounds. For example, Border Collies, German Shepherds, Shelties, and other herding breeds often have exceptionally acute hearing, making them more vulnerable to sound stress. On the other hand, some breeds, such as Basset Hounds, may be less sensitive due to the structure of their ears. Many dogs react to loud sounds with panic. They may hide under furniture, tremble, whine, breathe heavily, or even try to escape from the house. Some pets begin to shed excessively. This is related to the release of stress hormones that affect hair follicles. In the long term, constant exposure to loud sounds can lead to chronic stress and related health problems, including digestive disorders, reduced immunity, and even cardiovascular diseases. What can be done? Gradually accustom your dog to various sounds, starting with minimal volume. This process is called desensitization and requires patience. For instance, first turn on the vacuum cleaner in a distant room, then gradually move closer, always monitoring the dog's reaction. Reward calm behavior with treats and praise. Create a safe place in the house for your pet where it can go when something frightens it. This could be a comfortable bed in a quiet room, a crate with soft bedding, if the dog is used to a crate, or just a cozy corner behind the sofa. It's important that the dog associates this place exclusively with positive emotions. If you plan to use noisy appliances, warn your dog and give it the opportunity to go to a quiet place. Some veterinarians recommend giving the dog a special treat before turning on the vacuum cleaner or mixer to create a positive association with the sound. Special headphones for dogs that muffle loud sounds are also helpful. They're particularly useful during holidays with fireworks or during thunderstorms. Some owners note the effectiveness of special calming jackets that create a swaddling effect and help the dog feel safe. It's important to remember that even sounds inaudible to humans can bother a dog. Ultrasonic pest repellers, some alarm systems, and even dog whistles used in training can cause discomfort in sensitive pets. Therefore, it's worth paying close attention to your dog's reaction to the environment, even if you don't understand exactly what's bothering it. The third action is direct eye contact and hovering. In human culture, looking someone in the eye is a sign of attention, respect, and sincerity. But in the dog world, prolonged direct gaze is often interpreted as a challenge or threat. Evolutionarily, this has deep roots. In the wild, predators fix their gaze on potential prey before attacking. When dogs look into each other's eyes, it usually happens before or during a conflict. Ethologists studying animal behavior call direct gaze one of the main threat signals in canine body language. Dominant individuals use a steady gaze to assert their status, while subordinate ones try to avoid direct eye contact, averting their eyes or turning away completely to demonstrate their non-aggressiveness. Interestingly, during domestication, dogs acquired the unique ability to understand human gaze and even follow the direction of our eyes, which their closest relatives, wolves, cannot do. Research shows that when interacting with a beloved owner, a dog's brain produces oxytocin, the love hormone, the same one that's released in a mother when looking at her child. But this only works with close people and only in a calm, trusting environment. Of course, domestic dogs get used to human habits, and many of them calmly endure our gaze, especially when it comes to familiar people. However, a stranger staring into a dog's eyes can cause stress, fear, or even an aggressive reaction. Breeds with strong protective instincts, such as Caucasian Shepherds, Rottweilers, Dobermans, as well as some Terriers and Spitzes, are especially sensitive to direct gaze. Signs that a dog is uncomfortable with eye contact include averted gaze, tense posture, frequent blinking, turning away the head, licking lips. If you continue to look into the eyes of a clearly nervous dog, this can escalate into growling, baring teeth, and even an attempt to bite. How to properly interact with a dog, considering this characteristic. When meeting a new dog, avoid prolonged eye contact. It's better to look slightly to the side, at the animal's shoulder or chest. Allow it to approach you first, not the other way around, and be sure to consider other body signals. For example, don't lean over the dog. This is also perceived as a threat, and don't extend your hand from above to its muzzle. It's better to let the dog sniff your hand offered from the side. When communicating with your pet, occasionally avert your gaze to show you don't pose a threat. This is especially important at times when the dog might feel uncertain, during a vet visit, when meeting other dogs, or in a new environment. And remember that a soft, blinking gaze is perceived by dogs much better than a fixed stare. Moreover, slow blinking in the dog world is a signal of relaxation and trust. The fourth action is sudden movements and rushing. Dogs are creatures of habit. They value predictability and routine. Sudden, unexpected movements can frighten them, especially if the dog is naturally anxious or has had negative experiences in the past. Canine experts note that many behavioral problems in dogs arise precisely due to the unpredictability of the environment. Imagine you're peacefully resting, and suddenly someone jumps up, starts waving their arms, and moves quickly around the room. At best, this will merely attract your attention. At worst, it will frighten you. Dogs experience similar emotions when people around them behave chaotically and unpredictably. Their reaction might be much more pronounced due to the historically formed predator and prey instinct. The fact is that dogs' vision works differently than ours. They notice movement much better than static objects, thanks to the large number of photosensitive cells in the retina responsible for motion perception. Evolutionarily, this helps them track prey and notice danger in time. Therefore, sudden movements attract their attention and can trigger either hunting instinct or fear and defense reactions, depending on the dog's character and the situation. Rushing, bustling, quick movements over a dog's head, all these are potential stress triggers. Dogs of certain breeds and temperament types are especially sensitive to sudden movements. For example, breeds with high anxiety levels, such as greyhounds, whippets, some terriers, can fall into real panic with chaotic movement around them. On the other hand, dogs with strong hunting instincts may perceive fast movements as an invitation to a chase game, which sometimes leads to unwanted behavior, grabbing clothes, jumping on a person, etc. Some pets react with barking, others try to hide, and still others may even show aggression out of fear. Studies show that dogs with chronic stress due to an unpredictable environment more often suffer from behavioral problems. Excessive barking, destructive behavior, compulsive actions, for example, constant licking of paws or chasing their tail. How can you help your dog feel safe? Try to move smoothly and predictably, especially when near your pet. Warn your dog about your intentions using voice or certain signals. For example, before getting up from the couch where your dog is resting, you can say a word or phrase. Over time, the pet will know that movement will follow this and won't be frightened. If you need to quickly get ready and leave the house, try not to transfer your rush to the dog. It's important for it that usual rituals are observed, even in abbreviated form. Many professional trainers recommend creating stability anchors for the dog, short rituals that remain unchanged even on hectic days, and signal to the pet that everything is okay. And remember, children's chaotic movements often frighten dogs, so it's important to teach little ones to interact properly with animals. Explain to the child that they shouldn't run around the dog, wave their hands in front of its muzzle, unexpectedly hug it, or jump near it. This not only ensures the pet's comfort, but also prevents possible conflicts. Interesting fact, studies show that dogs can catch the emotional state of a person. If you're nervous and flustered, your pet will likely start experiencing anxiety too. This is called emotional convergence and explains why it's so important to remain calm in the presence of a dog, especially in potentially stressful situations. The fifth action is loneliness and social isolation. Dogs are social creatures for whom prolonged solitude is unnatural. In the wild, their ancestors lived in packs where each individual's survival depended on the group, and this need for company has been preserved in domestic pets. Research shows that social interaction for dogs is more important even than food or toys. Many owners don't even suspect how strongly their absence affects a dog. For some pets, it's real stress, comparable to panic. Veterinary specialists identify a whole disorder, separation anxiety, which according to some estimates affects up to 20% of all domestic dogs. When we go to work, to the store, or to visit friends, leaving the dog alone, this can be a real ordeal for it. Scientists studying dog behavior conducted an interesting experiment using surveillance cameras to understand what dogs do when left alone. The results showed that many animals spend a significant part of their time waiting for the owner's return. They lie by the door, periodically looking at it, or sit by the window, peering into the street. Some dogs are so attached to their owners that they refuse to eat in their absence. Signs that a dog doesn't handle loneliness well include destructive behavior, chewed furniture, torn items, unjustified barking or howling, escape attempts, holes dug under the fence, damaged doors or windows, soiling, despite being house-trained, excessive excitement when the owner returns. Some dogs express their stress through obsessive actions, endless licking of paws, chasing their tail, biting themselves. Physiological studies confirm that dogs suffering from separation anxiety show elevated levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, even when the owner is nearby. This indicates chronic stress, which can lead to reduced immunity, digestive problems, premature aging. and other serious health consequences. Breeds bred for close interaction with humans handle loneliness especially poorly. Labradors, golden retrievers, spaniels, some terriers. Dogs taken from shelters or the street also have an increased tendency towards separation anxiety. The experience of abandonment leaves a deep emotional mark on their psyche. How can you reduce separation stress? Gradually accustom your dog to brief solitude, starting with just a few minutes. Leave the house for a short time, then return, gradually increasing the duration of absence. It's important that the dog doesn't associate certain actions, such as putting on a coat or the sound of keys, with prolonged loneliness. To achieve this, you can periodically perform these actions without leaving home, so they lose their predictive power. Make your departures and returns ordinary, without excessive emotions. Goodbyes should be short and calm, without dramatic hugs and phrases like, "Poor baby, Mommy will be back soon." Similarly, when returning home, don't make noisy greetings. Wait until the dog calms down before giving it attention. This helps the dog perceive your comings and goings as a normal part of life, not as dramatic events. Leave toys for your pet that will occupy its attention in your absence. Interactive puzzle toys with treats inside are especially effective, requiring time and mental effort. Some owners successfully use special treat dispensers controlled via smartphone. This allows periodically rewarding the dog throughout the day. Many veterinarians recommend leaving items with the owner's scent for the dog, a shirt you've worn or a towel. The human smell has a calming effect on the dog. Pheromone diffusers that mimic the scents released by a mother dog to calm puppies are also effective. In particularly difficult cases, professional dog trainer or veterinary behaviorist help may be needed to correct separation anxiety. Sometimes, specialists recommend medication, especially in the initial stages of therapy, but this should always be combined with behavioral modification. And one more important aspect, provide your dog with sufficient physical and mental stimulation before leaving it alone. A tired dog is more likely to sleep peacefully while you're gone. But remember, physical exhaustion does not equal emotional calmness, so the exercise should be appropriate. The sixth action is changing daily routines and surroundings. Dogs are great conservatives. They love when everything happens at the usual time and in the usual way. Feeding, walks, games. All this forms their idea of a safe and comfortable world. Regularity creates a sense of control over the situation for the dog, which is critically important for its psychological well-being. When we suddenly change our daily routine, rearrange furniture, renovate, or move to a new home, this can be a real shock for a dog. Its familiar world changes, making it potentially dangerous. The dog doesn't understand that these changes are temporary or necessary. It just knows that the familiar and safe environment has suddenly become unpredictable. Studies show that dogs have very well developed spatial perception and create detailed mental maps of their surroundings. Professor Alexandra Horowitz, a specialist in canine cognition, in her book Inside of a Dog, What Dogs See, Smell, and Know, describes how dogs rely on cognitive maps that include not only the physical location of objects, but also associated smells and sounds. When these maps suddenly become invalid due to furniture rearrangement or relocation, the dog experiences cognitive dissonance. Have you observed how a dog reacts to a new object in the house? Many pets cautiously circle it, sniff it, and some even bark at it, as if defending themselves from an incomprehensible threat. This clearly shows how important environmental stability is for them. Interestingly, the reaction to changes greatly depends on the dog's temperament. More confident pets may show curiosity, while anxious ones tend to perceive changes as potential danger. Certain breeds are especially sensitive to changes in daily routine and environment. Herding breeds such as Border Collies or Australian Shepherds are evolutionarily programmed to track and control situations, so unpredictability is particularly stressful for them. Guard breeds like German Shepherds or Rottweilers can also have a hard time with routine disruptions, as it makes it difficult for them to perform their job of ensuring safety. What happens to a dog physiologically during abrupt changes? Releases of cortisol and adrenaline, stress hormones, can lead to increased heart rate, elevated blood pressure, and increased salivation. In chronic form, such stress weakens the immune system, disrupts digestion, and can even contribute to the development of behavioral problems, from destructive behavior to compulsive disorders. How can you help your dog adapt to changes? Introduce changes gradually if possible. For example, when rearranging furniture, move items one by one, giving the dog time to get used to each new position. When changing daily routines, try to keep at least some rituals unchanged to create islands of stability in the dog's changing world. During a move or renovation, try to maintain a safe place for your pet with its things and smells. Bedding, toys, bowls, all this should move with the dog and be available to it from the first day in the new place. Some canine experts recommend rubbing a cloth on the corners and thresholds of the old house before moving, and then transferring these smells to the new home. Familiar aromas will help the dog adapt more quickly. Maintain the usual feeding and walking schedule even during periods of change. This will create a sense of predictability and control, reducing the overall stress level. If the dog is particularly anxious, you can use natural calming remedies recommended by a veterinarian or special pheromone diffusers. And give your dog time. Some pets need several weeks to get used to new surroundings. Be patient and maintain a positive atmosphere. Research shows that the owner's emotional state directly affects the dog's stress level. If you're calm and optimistic, your pet is more likely to perceive changes as safe. Interesting fact, some dogs handle changes better if they're actively involved in the process. For example, when rearranging furniture, you can give the dog a special task or toy so it feels part of what's happening, not just an observer of incomprehensible changes. The seventh action is using strong smells and chemicals. Smell is a dog's dominant sense. Their nose is tens of thousands of times more sensitive than ours. What's just a pleasant aroma to us can be an overwhelming symphony of smells for a dog, some of which are perceived as threatening. A dog's nose is a true wonder of nature. It contains up to 300 million olfactory receptors compared to 6 million in humans. Moreover, the area of the brain responsible for processing smells is proportionally 40 times larger in dogs than in us. This means that dogs don't just detect more smells, they perceive the world through the prism of smell as fundamentally as we perceive it through vision. Research shows that dogs can detect scents at concentrations of 1 part per trillion. That's like finding a drop of substance in 20 Olympic swimming pools. They can distinguish the smells of individual components in complex mixtures, which explains why our perfumes or air fresheners can be not just unpleasant for them, but truly irritating. Perfumes, air fresheners, cleaning products, paint, nail polish. All these familiar substances can cause discomfort and even panic in dogs. Products containing chlorine, ammonia, and other aggressive chemicals are especially dangerous. Veterinarians note that prolonged exposure to household chemicals can lead to chronic respiratory diseases in dogs. Interestingly, The reaction to smells varies greatly among different breeds. Dogs with flattened muzzles, brachycephalic breeds, such as pugs, French bulldogs, and Pekingese, are especially sensitive to aromas due to the structure of their respiratory tract. On the other hand, dogs with long muzzles, like collies or greyhounds, have a more developed olfactory system and can detect even the faintest smells. How can you tell if a smell is bothering your pet? The dog may sneeze, rub its nose with its paws, try to leave a room with a strong smell, or show signs of stress, frequent licking, yawning, restless behavior. Some dogs experience tearing, runny nose, or even coughing from strong smells. In particularly severe cases, an allergic reaction with symptoms of itching and skin rashes may develop. Smells can affect not only the physical, but also the emotional state of a dog. Dr. Stanley Coren, a renowned specialist in canine psychology, describes how certain aromas can cause fear or anxiety in dogs, especially if they're associated with negative experiences. For example, the smell of alcohol or antiseptic might remind them of a visit to the vet, and the sharp aroma of carpet cleaner might remind them of punishment for an accident in the house. How can you minimize the impact of smells? Choose household chemicals without a strong smell or labeled safe for animals. Such products usually don't contain aggressive chemicals and fragrances that can irritate a dog's sensitive nose. There are even special cleaning product lines developed with pets in mind. Ventilate rooms after using strongly scented products. Good ventilation helps reduce the concentration of smells and diminish their impact on the dog. It's especially important to ventilate the bathroom after using strongly scented cleaning products and small enclosed spaces where smells concentrate more intensely. If you need to do painting or other odorous work, temporarily move the dog to another room, or even ask friends to house it for a couple of days. This will not only protect its sense of smell, but also prevent possible poisoning from volatile compounds that may be present in paints, varnishes, and solvents. Don't forget about natural home deodorizers that are safe for dogs. Baking soda, excellent for absorbing odors. Vinegar, in diluted form for cleaning. Activated charcoal absorbs unpleasant aromas. But it's better to avoid aromatic candles and sticks. They can be especially irritating for dogs due to the combination of strong smell and smoke. An interesting alternative is using aromatherapy specially designed for dogs. Some natural essential oils such as lavender, in very small doses, or chamomile are known for their calming effect on animals. However, it's important to remember that many essential oils are toxic to dogs, so always consult with a veterinarian before using them. Now that we've examined 7 everyday actions that can frighten dogs, let's summarize and talk about how to make our pets' lives more comfortable and psychologically safe overall. Observation is your main helper. Dogs communicate with us through body language, and it's important to learn to understand it. Pinned ears, lowered tail, tense posture, yawning, lip licking, attempts to move away or turn away. All these are signals of discomfort that shouldn't be ignored. Many owners, unfortunately, miss these early signs of stress and only pay attention to more obvious manifestations, such as barking, growling, or attempts to bite. But by this point, the dog's stress level is already critically high. Finnish researcher Tuiri Koistinen conducted an interesting experiment in which she showed dog owners photographs and videos of animals in various emotional states. The results were disappointing. Most people correctly recognized only vividly expressed emotions, such as fear or joy, but missed more subtle signals of anxiety and discomfort. Therefore, it's important to consciously develop this observation. Read literature on dog body language. Consult with canine experts. Carefully observe your pet in various situations. Respecting boundaries is the foundation of a trusting relationship with a dog. If you see that some action causes stress in your pet, try to find an alternative way of interaction. Remember that dogs, like people, have individual preferences and fears. What delights one dog may frighten another. Some pets love active games and noisy companies. Others prefer quiet rest in a calm environment. Contrary to popular belief, respecting boundaries doesn't mean the dog is commanding the owner. On the contrary, by recognizing and considering the individual characteristics of your pet, you demonstrate true leadership, caring and attentive, not based on domination and coercion. Modern studies of canine psychology show that relationships built on mutual respect and trust are much more effective for learning and general well-being than traditional methods based on the concept of alpha dominance. Gradual desensitization will help many dogs overcome fears. This is a process in which the pet is slowly and safely introduced to a frightening stimulus, starting with minimal intensity. For example, if the dog is afraid of the vacuum cleaner, first let it examine the turned-off appliance, receiving treats and praise. Then turn it on in a distant room, again combining this experience with positive emotions. Gradually reduce the distance, always monitoring the dog's reaction and not moving to the next stage until it's completely calm at the current one. It's important to understand that desensitization is a lengthy process requiring patience and consistency. You can't rush and try to toughen up the dog by immediately subjecting it to a full-fledged stimulus. This can only intensify the fear. In some cases, especially when dealing with severe phobias, the help of a professional dog trainer or veterinary behaviorist may be needed. An interesting technique often used in combination with desensitization is counter-conditioning. This is a process in which a frightening stimulus is paired with something pleasant, gradually changing the dog's emotional reaction. For example, if your pet is afraid of meeting other dogs, each time it sees a fellow canine, it receives a special treat that isn't available anywhere else. Over time, the sight of another dog begins to be associated not with fear, but with anticipation of a treat. Create a safe place in the home for your dog, a corner where it can retreat when feeling anxious. This could be a crate with an open door. Many dogs perceive it as a reliable shelter, not confinement, a hideaway under a table, a special bed in a quiet place, or even a separate room equipped for the pet's comfort. The main thing is to respect this territory and not disturb the dog when it's there. The safe place should be truly safe from all perspectives. Located in a quiet part of the house, away from noisy appliances and passageways. Make sure children understand that when the dog goes to its refuge, it shouldn't be disturbed. Some canine experts recommend associating the safe place with a specific command, for example, place or home, so you can direct the dog there in a stressful situation. And finally, remember that your emotional state directly affects the dog. These amazing creatures are very sensitive to our mood, heart rate, smell, and other physiological parameters that change during stress. Research shows that a dog's cortisol, stress hormone, level often correlates with the owner's cortisol level. This is scientific confirmation that our pets really feel our emotional state. If you're calm and confident, your pet is more likely to feel safe even in stressful situations. This is especially important at moments that could potentially cause fear in the dog, during a thunderstorm, fireworks, visiting the vet, or meeting unfamiliar people. By demonstrating calm confidence, you show the dog there's nothing to fear. Caring for a dog's psychological comfort is not just an expression of love, but also the responsibility of every owner. By understanding what everyday actions might cause fear in your pet and trying to minimize their negative impact, we create the foundation for harmonious and trusting relationships with our four-legged friends. Recent research in neurobiology shows that chronic stress negatively affects dogs' cognitive functions, reduces their learning ability, and can even shorten their lifespan. On the other hand, dogs living in a psychologically comfortable environment demonstrate higher indicators of intelligence, better problem solving, and are less susceptible to behavioral disorders. Interestingly, many principles we've discussed, respecting individual boundaries, the importance of predictability, careful introduction of new stimuli, echo modern approaches to raising children. And this is no coincidence. Basic needs for safety, acceptance, and understanding are characteristic of all social species, including humans and dogs. Perhaps that's why our connection with dogs is so strong and has withstood the test of thousands of years of joint evolution. Thank you for your attention. I hope this information will help you better understand your dogs and make their lives happier. Take care of your pets, and remember, your love and care are the best medicine for any fears. And when a dog feels safe with you, it strengthens mutual attachment and makes your relationship even deeper and more meaningful.